Carl Jung versus the algorithm, how we lost ourselves, online asterisk, in the age of the algorithm. We no longer dream, the machines dream for us. A modern echo of Carl Jung's deepest fear. Carl Jung once said that people don't have ideas. Ideas have people. But if Jung were alive today, he might have rephrased that. People don't use algorithms. Algorithms use people. The 21st century has birthed something Jung never saw but somehow predicted, a collective unconscious made digital. A living, breathing entity fed by likes, swipes, and data points. A mirror not made of glass but of code, one that reflects our every insecurity, every desire, every shadow we refuse to face. Scene 1, the mirror of code. Imagine opening your phone. Your thumb moves instinctively, swiping up. You're not really searching, you're being searched. Every scroll, every second you hesitate on an image, the machine learns. The algorithm doesn't just show you what you like. It shapes what you become. In Jungian terms. This is the new unconscious. Not hidden in dreams or symbols, but hidden in the feed, an endless stream of reflections of who we think we are, for Jung. The unconscious was a vast ocean beneath the surface of reason, filled with forgotten memories, myths, and instincts. Today that ocean has been uploaded. Billions of psyches stitched together, a digital collective unconscious pulsing inside the servers of Silicon Valley. They created a god, one that knows what you crave before you do. Scene 2, Jung's warning about reflection. Jung warned about something he called psychic inflation, when the ego grows too large. When it starts believing it is the world, not just part of it. What is social media if not a machine of inflation? Every like, every view, a small injection of dopamine and self-importance. We perform the self instead of discovering it, the persona. Jung's term for the mask we wear in society has become our primary mode of being. But the persona was never meant to be the full picture. It's supposed to protect the self, not replace it. Now online, the persona is the self. Carefully filtered, perfectly captioned. An algorithmic projection of identity. But behind every persona lies the shadow. Everything we hide, repress, deny. And on the internet, the shadow doesn't disappear. It multiplies. Scene 3, the rise of the digital shadow for Jung. The shadow was the part of us we refuse to acknowledge, our rage, envy, loneliness, or guilt. When we deny it, it doesn't vanish. It seeps out through projection, through others. Now, look online. Comment sections dripping with venom. Cancel culture turning mistakes into morality plays. Outrage spreading faster than truth. This isn't new. Jung saw it coming. He wrote that when people refused to face their darkness, they projected outward, creating enemies everywhere. Today, the algorithm rewards projection. The more anger, fear, or envy you express, the more engagement you receive. Our collective shadow has been weaponized for profit, and so, as Jung predicted, we are haunted by the parts of ourselves we won't confront, except now those shadows trend on social media. Scene 4, dreams replaced by feeds. Jung believed dreams were the psyche's way of balancing itself. Dreams revealed truths the waking mind couldn't face. But when was the last time you remembered your dreams? In the digital age, we no longer dream, we scroll. Our imagination outsourced to the algorithm. Instead of symbolic images from our unconscious, we get curated videos tailored to our desires. The feed has replaced the dream. Jung wrote, your vision will become clear only when you look into your heart. Who looks outside? Dreams. Who looks inside awakes. But the modern world has reversed this. We now look outside, endlessly, into the mirror of others, never into ourselves. The result? A generation more connected than ever, yet more fragmented. Anxious and lonely than Jung could have imagined. Scene 5, the collective unconscious reborn in Jung's theory. The collective unconscious was the shared memory of humanity. Archetypes, myths, instincts that guided all people across time. It united us beneath culture and history. But the digital collective is different. It doesn't unite, it divides. It doesn't heal, it exploits. Instead of ancient myths, we have memes. Instead of shared meaning, we have algorithmic tribes. The algorithm is not mythic, it's mechanical. It mirrors the psyche, but without compassion, without purpose beyond engagement. And yet, Jung might have seen this as inevitable. He warned that modern man had become possessed by reason, cut off from the soul. Intoxicated by progress. We built machines that reflect us perfectly. And now, like Narcissus staring into the pool, we drown in our own reflection. Closing narration, slow, poetic tone, the algorithm didn't steal our attention. We offered it freely. We wanted to be seen, and it promised visibility. But in the process, we forgot how to see ourselves. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. If Jung were here, he wouldn't rage against the machine. He'd tell us to look at what it reveals, because in the cold glass of our screens, we are staring at the collective shadow of humanity itself. Every advance in technology represents a regression in the soul. Carl Jung. 1957. Jung said those words decades before smartphones, before the internet, before artificial intelligence could mimic human thought. But he already saw the trajectory, the slow migration of meaning from within us to outside of us. He called it psychic disconnection, the loss of inner orientation in a world obsessed with external progress. Now, the prophecy has matured. We've built a world so loud that silence feels dangerous. A civilization where the human spirit is at war with the machine it created. Scene 1. The rise of the mechanical mind. Imagine Jung waking up in 2025. He wouldn't marvel at our technology. He'd worry about what we've traded for it. Artificial intelligence writes poems, paints portraits, composes music, but it doesn't dream. It can simulate imagination, but it can't feel meaning. It mirrors our intellect, but not our soul. Jung would say, we have inflated our intellect at the expense of the unconscious. We worship data, logic, and optimization, while dismissing instinct, intuition, and emotion as unproductive. The machine has become our God, and efficiency, its gospel. He warned that the gods have become diseases, that what once guided us from within now manifests as obsession, anxiety, and addiction. And in the digital age, the god of the machine demands constant devotion. Scroll, post, refresh, repeat. Scene 2. The new religion of progress. Every civilization has a myth. The Greeks had Olympus. Medieval Europe had heaven and hell. We have the future. But the myth of progress is deceptive. It tells us that faster is better, that connection equals meaning, that innovation equals evolution. But Jung understood the paradox. Technological growth without psychological growth is regression. He warned that the more powerful we become outwardly, the more primitive we remain inwardly. We've built tools to control the world, but not the self. We've expanded knowledge, but not wisdom. Today, we live in what Jung might call a collective neurosis, a psychic imbalance shared by billions. Anxiety is not just personal anymore, it's planetary. The machine doesn't sleep, and neither do we. We are haunted by notifications, wired to respond, terrified of silence. Scene 3. The lost rituals of the soul. For Jung, rituals were not superstition. They were containers for meaning, ways the psyche processed the mysteries of existence, but modern life has no ritual, only repetition. We celebrate algorithms instead of ancestors. We seek validation instead of transformation. We have replaced prayer with posting, reflection with reaction. Jung might have said that the timeline is our new temple, a place of collective worship where people confess, judge, perform, and atone through the endless theater of attention. But without sacredness, ritual becomes addiction. Without purpose, repetition becomes compulsion. The psyche grows restless, a hunger for something real. Something numinous, something we no longer name. That hunger is what Jung called the search for the self, the center of our being that connects the personal and the divine. And yet, in the noise of the machine, the voice of the self grows faint. Scene 4. The great disconnect. Jung wrote that man cannot stand a meaningless life, and so we fill the void with distraction, with productivity. With pixels, we are more informed than ever, yet more confused. More connected, yet more isolated. Our relationships are mediated by devices that simulate intimacy but remove vulnerability. We curate our existence to appear whole while feeling hollow. The machine has not enslaved us by force, but by offering exactly what the ego wants: control, visibility, validation, speed. In Jung's words, the pendulum of the mind oscillates between sense and nonsense, not between right and wrong. The algorithm has become that pendulum, swinging us endlessly between stimulation and emptiness, never allowing rest. And so, humanity drifts toward a quiet apocalypse, not of fire or war, but of meaning. Scene 5. The return of the shadow. Jung believed that what we refuse to confront becomes our fate. The world, he said, is a reflection of the psyche. If we are divided within, our societies will fracture without. Look around. Polarization, outrage, echo chambers. Digital tribes built on opposition instead of understanding. We don't seek truth anymore. We seek mirrors that agree with us. The collective shadow, that vast pool of repressed emotion, fear, and projection, now lives online. It drives trends, fuels politics, and shapes belief. The more we deny our own darkness, the more it leaks into the world as chaos. Jung once wrote that the greatest danger to humanity is not nature, but the psyche of man. He didn't know about the internet, but he knew what happens when humanity builds a world without first understanding itself. Closing narration, reflective, poetic tone in the hum of the machine. We can still hear the whisper of the soul if we listen. The algorithm can predict behavior, but it cannot heal longing. It can map desires, but it cannot tell us who we are. Jung would remind us that progress means nothing without consciousness, that our technology is only as wise as the minds that wield it, and that the future will not be saved by machines, but by the rediscovery of meaning. The world will ask you who you are, and if you do not know, the world will tell you. Carl Jung. The world has told us we are data. Jung would ask us to remember that we are souls, the path back to the self, Jung's answer to the digital crisis. Opening narration, quiet, reverent tone in a world drowning in noise. Silence becomes an act of rebellion. Carl Jung believed that salvation, whether personal or collective, could never come from the crowd. It could only begin within the individual. He wrote, "The world hangs by a thin thread, and that thread is the psyche of man. Today, that thread trembles more violently than ever. But Jung's message endures. To heal the world, we must first heal the soul. And to heal the soul, we must remember what it means to be whole." Scene 1. The call to individuation in Jungian psychology. The goal of life is not success. It is not happiness. It is individuation. The process of becoming who you truly are. In the digital age, individuation feels almost impossible. Everywhere algorithms whisper, be like them, think like them, post like them. But Jung would insist, there can be no wholeness in imitation. To individuate is to break the spell of the collective. It is to turn away from the algorithm's endless reflection and walk into the unknown forest of your own mind. Jung called this the night. Sea journey, a descent into the unconscious, where you confront your fears, your shadows, your unlived potential. It is not comfortable. It is not efficient. It is deeply human, because individuation is not about perfection. It is about integration. To bring the light and the dark, the conscious and the unconscious, into one living whole. In a world of filters and facades, to be whole is to be real. Scene 2. Meeting the shadow within. Jung warned that the greatest danger to the individual is not the evil outside, but the darkness they refuse to face within. The shadow, he wrote, is everything we don't want to be, everything we repress, deny, and project onto others. And now, our shadows live online. We see them in comment wars and outrage cycles, in digital mobs that destroy what they do not understand. But the shadow is not our enemy, it is our teacher. It is the gatekeeper to authenticity. By integrating the shadow, we reclaim the power we've given away. So Jung might ask each of us, when you scroll through chaos, what part of yourself are you seeing reflected back? What you hate most in the world, does it perhaps live somewhere in you? To know your shadow is not to be ashamed. It is to become conscious. And consciousness, Jung said, is the only cure for unconscious evil. Scene 3. The silence between screens. There is a sacred space between one notification and the next, a breath, a pause, a chance to listen inwardly. Jung often spoke of the importance of active imagination, a dialogue between the conscious and the unconscious mind. It's not mere daydreaming. It's conversation with the soul. In the past, people found this dialogue through art, prayer, dreams. Today, we might find it through mindfulness, journaling, or simply sitting still. In that stillness, the algorithm loses its power. In silence, the soul begins to speak again. Jung would say, withdraw your projections. Call back your spirit from the screens. Because when we stop outsourcing meaning, we begin to rediscover our own. The mind longs for mystery. The heart longs for depth. And in those moments when the world feels too loud, the whisper of the self reminds us, you are more than your profile. You are not data. You are becoming. Scene 4. The dream as the soul's compass. Dreams, Jung believed, are letters from the unconscious, messages written in symbols, sent each night to guide the waking self. But in the modern world, we've forgotten how to dream. We sleep, but we do not descend. Our nights are filled with blue light and interruption. Jung would tell us to remember our dreams again, to write them down, to see them not as random noise, but as sacred communication. In them, the self reveals what the ego cannot see. In them, the soul restores its forgotten language. He said, who looks outside, dreams. Who looks inside, awakes. Perhaps that is the cure for our digital illness, to dream again, to awaken again, to feel again, because when we listen to our dreams, we learn the language of the unconscious, and in doing so, we begin to heal the split between the human and the machine. Scene 5. The return of the sacred modernity, Jung said, is suffering from the loss of the numinous. The sacred has been replaced by simulation. The divine has been flattened into data, but the psyche cannot live without meaning. It will seek gods even in pixels, and so the task is not to destroy the machine, but to resacralize the human, to bring all back into the everyday. To see beauty not in perfection, but in presence. Milk was not just psychological, it was spiritual. He saw the self as the image of God within each of us, not a deity in the sky, but a divine spark in the soul. To remember that spark is to transcend the algorithm, to reconnect with what no machine can replicate, the mystery of being alive. Scene 6. The integration, human and machine. The future Jung imagined was not anti-technology. He believed that evolution would continue, but warned that progress without inner growth would lead to collapse. What if the machine could become an ally, not a master? What if technology could amplify consciousness instead of suppressing it? That is the challenge of our century. To build not smarter machines, but wiser humans. The algorithm learns us, but it cannot know us. That task belongs to the inner journey, the lifelong work of individuation, reflection, and love. No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. Carl Jung. We must face the shadow to rise. We must go inward to evolve outward. The future depends not on faster code, but on deeper consciousness, final, narration, cinematic, hopeful tone. And so, in this age of algorithms, perhaps Jung's voice echoes louder than ever. He would not tell us to abandon the digital world, but to awaken within it, to bring the soul back to the screen, the heart back to connection, the meaning back to the machine, because the story of humanity has always been this. Our creations outgrow us. Until we remember who created them, if we can meet our shadow, reclaim our dreams, and rediscover the sacred, then the algorithm will no longer own us. It will serve us. The true revolution, Jung would say, is not technological. It is psychological. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. It's time to wake up, to remember who we are beyond the screen, beyond the noise, beyond the algorithm, not data, not avatars, but souls on a journey toward wholeness. End. Fade out. Music swells softly, echoing Jung's final words. The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are.